Guys, what's up? Darcy here at 6 Strings 9 Lives. Finally back for another ranking video. Feels like forever since I've done one of these. Might have to shake off a little bit of the rust. But today we're going to look at all 15 studio albums from W.A.S.P. Actually a ranking that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I was missing one piece to the puzzle. But thanks to a good friend who hooked me up with the CD I was missing, we are going to do a W.A.S.P. ranking. So a lot of the bands that I listen to or that are in my collection, there is a handful of bands that I have been with since the start until, their latest album. But unfortunately, W.A.S.P. wasn't one of them. Kind of started to fall off the W.A.S.P. train around mid-90s. Not entirely their fault, just the time in my life. Kids were coming, not a lot of time to listen to music. Definitely not a lot of money to buy extra music. Those are the days of, one step forward, 3 steps back type of deal. But, we've all been through things like that. But, yeah, the kids definitely took the extra money for food and diapers and such. But I was, and of course I was with them right from the start. Very fortunate to have seen them on in 1984, opening for Crocus on the Blitz tour. I still have my ticket stub here. So what was that? November 27th, 1984. Crocus with special guest W.A.S.P. You know what? W.A.S.P. absolutely, they blew them off the stage that night. This concert easily could have been reversed. Not bashing Crocus because I am a huge fan. They were coming off a fantastic album called Headhunter, and they came out with the Blitz, which was a bit of a departure. It was definitely more on the commercial side, less metal. But yeah, like I said, W.A.S.P. Just killed it that night. If I wasn't already in love with them at that time, I definitely was after that night. Probably right around the time where Stephen Riley came in on drums. I think Tony Richard had already left, because that was late 84. So yeah, and my favorite lineup of W.A.S.P. I always loved when Blackie was on bass, and of course the centerpiece of the band with his 2 awesome bookends, Chris Holmes and Randy Piper, which I'll throw it in here so I don't forget. But Randy Piper had a couple of guitars that are still my favorite guitars of all time. That tailpipe one, and then that skull. I think he used that one in, I think that one came out, he had it for the Last Command era. I'm not quite sure, but you'll know the couple guitars I'm talking about, especially that tailpipe one. And I also got to see W.A.S.P. in 1987, probably right around, either before this came out or after. I'm not sure, probably before, because it was on this tour. So this is W.A.S.P. live in the raw. So Blackie went back to his natural instrument, which is guitar, and in came Johnny Rod on bass, which I think Johnny Rod is fantastic. Great backing vocalist. He easily could be a vocalist himself. Plus, if you've never heard this, go check it out. This has got some killer stuff. And the extra stuff on here, like the song The Manimal and Harder, Faster. A couple of my favorite W.A.S.P. songs, to be honest with you. Really cool stuff. But yeah, I really count myself as lucky to see them in their heyday. I know they're touring around now, but you don't have Holmes, you don't have Piper, you don't have Johnny Rod. And yes, I know for most of their W.A.S.P.'s career, it's been, it's Blackie Lawless's band. I get it. But especially those first few albums and the lineups, it really felt more like a band, if you know what I mean. So we're going to go through these. I am not going to pretend or say to you that W.A.S.P. has never made a bad album, because in my opinion they have. But we will pick out, there is good songs on each one of these, but some of them are just kind of in the filler category to me. Again, some really great tracks, which I'll mention as we go. But let's get rolling on this. It's, like I said, it's been a while. We're going to have to shake off some ranking rust here. Coming in at number 15 is 1999's Eldorado. So this is obviously my least favorite, and the big things that really bother me on this one is the production, But the biggest thing is Blackie's vocals are very, for lack of a better word, very screamy throughout the whole thing. It's almost like he's trying too hard on here. There is a real AC/DC type of vibe on this album, which isn't nothing against AC/DC, but the combination of that and, you know, you still have Chris Holmes on this album. This is actually the second of 3 albums of his return to the band. So you have Holmes on lead guitar, but the whole vibe of this album and kind of their attempt at writing an album that was, you know, reminiscent of their first couple albums, first 3 albums, you know, those type of themes. Couple standouts here that I do like is the opening track, Eldorado. I don't mind that at all. Damnation Angels, which definitely has an AC/DC vibe. Probably one of my favorite songs on the album. But then there's some other, you know, corny shit like Don't Cry, Just Suck, Dirty Balls. And then there's the good old reprise, Hot Rod to Hell, Eldorado reprise, which we'll talk about reprises in a minute. But always love this cover though, and W.A.S.P is one of those bands where most of you know that they change their logo on every album, kind of like Motley Crue does, and I don't mind it with these guys. I think it fits with, they try to fit it with the theme of their album cover, stuff like that. But coming in at number 15, Eldorado. I'm gonna grab a quick drink. And coming in at number 14, their latest album from 2015. So 7 years. Yeah, I know this one's down, down in the count. Initially, I like this one a lot better than I do now. But again, I don't dislike it. But it's kind of, it doesn't have too many peaks and valleys. It's kind of just pretty tame throughout overall, I'd say. But there's a couple standout tracks. So this is number 14 from 2015. Called Golgotha. So nothing has come out since as far as studio material. They did the reworked, re-idolized for a couple years back, I think 2018 maybe for that. I've actually never heard that. So I just always just love the original. So, and you'll see where that lands soon enough. But there's the back cover. The opening track is really good. Scream, I like that one. Last Runaway and Miss You, great solo on there, really good. But like I said, just kind of you know, just a solid album, and just nothing really just jumps out at me on this one. But again, not terrible. All right, let's keep rolling. Coming in at number 13, their 13th overall studio album from 2007, and first to feature their current guitarist Doug Blair. This is Dominator. This is probably right around the time I got back into W.A.S.P and started, 2007, 2009, started backtracking, picking up the things I was missing. 9-track album with a reprise, which I think is a no-no. So you're pretty much down to 8 tracks. But there's some, again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I will pick out the good tracks on here. But overall, I would say this is more, to me, it feels like more of a leftovers filler, let's just get an album out type of thing. You know, you got lots of political stuff, which is throughout the W.A.S.P discography, there's lots of political theme songs, stuff like that. But lead off track, I really enjoy Mercy. It's kind of got that Wild Child beginning vibe. Don't mind that a bit. The Burning Man, really good song. Heaven's Hung in Black is probably the best track on here for me. I think it might even be a track that they still play live to this day. Maybe not on this kind of tour that they're on right now. Dominator coming in at number 13 from 2007. All right, coming in at number 12, which is part of a 2-album set, The Neon God. This is their 11th overall studio album, 2004. First of 3 albums to feature Daryl Roberts on guitar, but this is The Neon God. Part 1, The Rise. There is a handful of really good tracks on this one. But again, I think this one, produced by Blackie Lawless, Production-wise, not bad. Maybe could even use a little more polish. Maybe not polished enough, but check out the tracks: Wishing Well, Sister Sadie, Asylum Number 9, and another one of my favorite tracks is XTC Riders. So this is, like I said, this is the first of 2 albums that came out in 2004. A concept album, which I think there's, what is there? Well, there's a couple concept albums and definitely some conceptual themes in some of these W.A.S.P albums. But there we go, number 12, the 11th overall studio album, 2004, the Neon God Part 1. Coming in at number 11, their 14th overall studio album from 2009. And yes, this is, I'm trying to remember, but yeah, this is right in the time where I got back into these guys. This is 2009's Babylon, coming in at number 11. Again, I think this is, I kind of lump this one in with Dominator. I know they're a little bit apart in the ranking, but this one has 2 cover songs on a 9. Is it a 9-track album? Yes. You got a 9-track album with 2 cover songs, so you're basically left with, and the cover songs on here, honestly, are not that good. You got a cover of Burn, and then you got a cover of a Chuck Berry song called Promised Land. So they were probably really scraping, you know, almost better off just to make it a 7-track album, or I don't know. But again, lead off track, Crazy. It's got, again, same as Dominator. It's got that vibe, that kind of Wild Child vibe start with the guitars. You know, you definitely hear, you know, that W.A.S.P sound in there. What other tracks did I really enjoy? I just want to go through this. Babylon's Burning, that's a really good song. And I would say Thunder Red, or actually I think Seas of Fire, is one of my very favorite tracks on this album. The rest, you know, like I said, you got 2 cover songs, some filler, and there's the album. But coming in at number 11 is Babylon. All right. Now, this is the album that I was missing out of my collection. Listened to it lots of times, you know, through YouTube, things like that. So I know the album, and definitely my favorite of the Neon God series. This is the their 12th overall studio album from, again, 2004. And I actually don't know, did these actually come out together? I don't even remember if there was, you know, months apart. You know, was it like, did they come out on the same day, like Use Your Illusion 1 and 2? I don't remember. Let me know in the comments. But here's the Neon God, The Demise. And this, like I said, is my favorite of the full concept 2 album set. And, you know, those are probably the time where record companies did not want to see a double live concept album coming out in the mid-2000s. So they probably got the band to, you know, say, okay, you can release these, but they're going to have to be separate. And like I said, was there any time in between these releases? But let me just go over these tracks, because there is the first 3 tracks are actually really, really good. Never Say Die, Resurrector, and The Demise. Awesome. And the final track, The Last Redemption, check that one out. It is really good. Not the best album art for these, but you know what? Not a bad album. If you've missed the boat on some of these mid-era W.A.S.P albums, there is some really killer tracks on there. But coming in at number 10, the Neon God, The Demise. And yes, there's one album you haven't seen yet, which you're probably wondering, because I've seen a few W.A.S.P rankings, and I always see this one near the bottom. And probably when it came out, I probably wouldn't have argued with you, because there was such a big departure. But this is coming in at number 9, their 7th overall studio album, The Return of Chris Holmes. This is W.A.S.P KFD. Now, yes, this has the industrial vibe. You know, that kind of fuzzy, industrial vibe. But it is not as industrial as people make it out to be. Put it that way. Man, if this album just got cleaned up a little bit, you would have an awesome W.A.S.P album. And I really do really enjoy this album. It's a grower. It either will grow on you, or you'll just put it, coming in at number 15, KF, you know what I mean? But not a bad album. They tried something, and I won't blame a band for trying something new. And they definitely did on this, but strong theme throughout. I mean, there's tons of swearing on here, even in the album titles. KFD, which means kill, fuck, die. Lead off track, like that. A couple of my favorites, though, I would say Kill Your Pretty Face, Wicked Love, and the last track, The Horror. No, I'm sorry, not The Horror. The track before that is called You, and then Wicked Love. The Horror is, definitely got some strong themes there too. But yeah, crazy looking cover. It's got that, I don't know, what do they call those films? I don't know. It's got that look. But yeah, return of Chris Holmes after a few years. And what else we got? Yep, there's Blackie and Chris back in the day. And then there is a live album of called Double Live Assassins, which is really awesome. It is from this tour, where I think they play at least 4 of those tracks. So that is one to check out if you are interested in some live W.A.S.P. But coming in at number 9, KFD, kind of one of those I love it or hate it albums. What do we got? So did I say number 9? It is number 9. Anyways, coming in at number 8, their 6th overall studio album. This one was intended to be a Blackie Lawless solo album, which if you know the band, you know the stories, things like that. But I think it was one of those situations where the record company said, no, we need to put the W.A.S.P logo on it. And this is a super strong album, and a cover that you can hardly see. I'll try to do my best with that. You got a guy there with his head hanging down, and Raven or whatever in the background. So 6th overall studio album, 1995. Kind of right after that, or right around, this is where I fell off with them. I really like the first half of this album. To me, is really, really good. And I even, like I've said 100 times, I'm not a super big covers guy, but Somebody to Love is a really good cover. I really enjoy that one. But check out the track Still Not Black Enough, Black Forever, Goodbye America, awesome track if you have not heard it. What else we got? And then, like I said, probably, the first 5 or 6 songs for me is the best part of this album. And it kind of drops off a little bit after that, not in a disastrous way, but definitely for me, the first part of this album is the strong point. And so, coming in at number 8, Still Not Black Enough. So at that point of the band, you had Chris had left. What else? We had Frankie Banali came in and did, I think, most of the drums. Sted Howland might have did a couple of songs. And Bob Kulick, Bruce Kulick's older brother, who has recently passed away in the past 2 or 3 years. Rest in peace, Bob. Great guitar player, kind of a hired gun type of guy. And as was Frankie Banali at the time too, a hired gun. But if you haven't checked this one out, go for it. Coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7. This one is the first to feature Daryl Roberts on guitar, and my favorite of the 3 that he was on for sure. The other 2 albums he was on were the Neon God albums. But this is 2002's Dying for the World. So definitely a quick turnaround too, because there is an album that came out in 2001, which we'll talk about really soon. So back-to-back years albums. This cover is not good at all. I've got a kind of a carving on a tree of the W.A.S.P logo, Dying for the World. A bunch of people in the background. So, I mean, there's definitely some hidden messaging in here, whatever. But I don't really like that cover that much. But Dying for the World, I do like the album for sure. Check out, okay, there's tons of good tracks on here. Shadow Man, My Wicked Heart. Blackbone Torso is kind of a lead into one of my favorite tracks called Hell for Eternity. Check out that one if you don't check out any other track. And another one I would say, check out Rubber Man. Cool song. Yeah, we got Shadow Man, Rubber Man. But I would say an underrated W.A.S.P album. And if you're just looking to dig a little bit deeper past, you know, the heyday of W.A.S.P, I'm going to recommend this one to you, and I will recommend the next one. So that was number 7, Dying for the World. And here's the other one I'll recommend to you, number 6. Coming in at number 6, their 9th overall studio album, and at the time, the last to feature Chris Holmes. But this is definitely an underrated W.A.S.P album, I would say. It definitely needs to be checked out. This is Unholy Terror, 2001. So, like I said, Chris Holmes on this one. I would say this one, it's got a lot of elements to me of bits and pieces of the first 4 W.A.S.P albums. And I think they did a great job with it. Lead off track, Let It Roar. Hate to Love Me, great track. The album title track, Unholy Terror, awesome. Locomotion Man, and a great song on here, which is called Ravenheart. If you don't check out any other track, check out Ravenheart. It is, you'll hear what I'm saying about those, you know, bits and pieces of the first 4 albums for sure. And again, another logo change, but coming in at number 6 is Unholy Terror. What do we got here? Number 5. Okay, so this is getting into, for most people, interchangeable parts, but I'm just going to show you, you know, where my heart lies with these albums. And for me, this is really the heart of W.A.S.P, are these first few albums. So coming in at number 5, an awesome concept album, and the only one I have on vinyl. This is the Crimson Idol. Don't have to say much about this one. You know the album. This is kind of a, you know, a couple hired guns on here for sure, because Bob is on this album, Bob Kulick. We got Frankie Banali on here, and I think Sted Howland did a couple of tracks, or vice versa with Frankie Banali. They shared the drum duties on a couple of these albums. But great concept album. Tons of favorite tracks on here. The Invisible Boy, Arena of Pleasure, Chainsaw Charlie, Murders in the New Morgue, awesome. Yeah, this is probably, if I was going to do a video of top concept albums, this would definitely be in some sort of top 10 for sure. Love this album, The Crimson Idol. And let's keep firing along here. This has turned out to be longer than, whatever. Who cares how long it is? So that was number 5. Number 4. Now, I bought every one of these, well, including the Crimson Idol. Brand new release day. Always looked forward to them. But coming in at number 4 is Inside the Electric Circus. This is my original cassette. Blackie on the cover. I remember the story. This took hours for him to get all painted up, you know, as these tiger spots or whatever they are. And always love this logo too, of the kind of the clawing of a paw, ripping into flesh, whatever you want to say. But Inside the Electric Circus. Now this one does have, what do we got? 2 cover songs on here. But I'm okay with this one versus, you know, Babylon, because these 2 cover songs are great in my opinion. I Don't Need No Doctor, and what else did we have on here? Easy Living. I Don't Need No Doctor would definitely be my favorite of the 2. Easy Living, I could take it or leave it, to be honest with you. But there are some great tracks on here. Inside the Electric Circus. What was the first single? I think it was 95 Nasty, wasn't it? I remember I had the 12-inch single of that. I do not have that anymore. Shoot from the Hip, I'm Alive, Mantronic, love that song. Restless Gypsy. There's so many good tracks on here. That's why I said people can flip-flop between these ones. This one, it definitely less polished than The Last Command. Production-wise, it's a little more scaled back. And, you know, Blackie back on guitars here. Johnny Rod. Let me see. Oh, yeah, we do have a picture of the band because some of these cassettes were pretty basic back then. Always love this picture of the band, too. Very cool. And like I said before, very fortunate to see them on that tour. So, excuse me, coming in at number 4, Inside the Electric Circus. Coming in at number 3, an album that I love and still love to this day, The Last Command. Now this one, we're talking about polish. This one is much more polished than Inside the Electric Circus, and much more polished than the debut. And but I don't mind it a bit. This one actually contains my favorite overall W.A.S.P song called Widowmaker. This is my original cassette from back in the day. I remember buying this on release day. But this one produced by Spencer Proffer is on here. So that's where you will see, you know, Spencer Proffer's known for that, adding that polish. Around the time he was working with another band that I really enjoy from Canada called Kick-Axe, and they were doing an album after this one called Welcome to the Club. And you definitely can feel that polish. In fact, there is a song on here that I think was supposed to be used for Kick-Axe or Running Wild in the Street, Running Wild in the Streets, but it ended up on this W.A.S.P album. I think it was co-written by Spencer, or finished off with Blackie, whatever have you. But great album, love this album cover, and yeah, that video for Wild Child, love it to this day. Some other great tracks on here that I enjoy. Of course, you got Blind in Texas. Yes, a fistful of. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Where are we? Yes, Blind in Texas. I remember having that 12-inch single for that one too. Cries of the Night, The Last Command is an awesome song. Great title track. And actually Running Wild in the Streets is an awesome song. There's a couple throwaways on here, I'll be honest with you. Sex Drive, to wrap it, they could easily have left that one off. You got a couple other ones. Actually, Ball Crusher I like. Jack Action, it's okay, but overall, this is pretty much a 10 out of 10 all day long for me. And coming in at number 3, coming in at number 2, we have, I would say, I'm going to sum this one up as kind of more mature. The musicianship was awesome, is awesome. Themes, songs, great. Always been my number 2. This is The Headless Children from, what are we at, 1989 on this one? I didn't write it down, but yes, 1989. Got my original cassette there. But this one just, I don't know, I just think this album just brought the best of those past 2 albums that I just showed you and just connected. You got Frankie Benelli on drums on this one. But yeah, and we had a great cover song, The Real Me. I don't mind that at all. My favorite tracks on here are the title track, The Headless Children, awesome track. The leadoff track, The Heretic, The Lost Child, awesome. Thunderhead, Mean Man, what else? And to wrap this one up, Rebel in the FDG, great track too. So there's my number 2, The Headless Children. Only leaving one, and probably no surprise. This one actually was featured on my all-time favorite, my top 50 favorite albums of all time. This one just left an impact with me from day one till now. The only album to actually feature the full band on the cover, which I read. I read an article on that where Blackie just said after Tony left the band, it's not that they didn't feel like a band after that, but something was missing. He said, so that's why they refrained from having covers with just band shots. But this one is one of those top to bottom, no weakness whatsoever. Love this album to this day. But there it is, my number 1 W.A.S.P album, the self-titled. Hope you enjoyed that one, and we will get to some other rankings here in the near future. And until next time, stay heavy.